Hi, everybody. Welcome back to A Few Good Movies. I'm Matthew Brown,
I'm Brendan Murphy.
and today we are going to be doing The Social Network. But
That's
before we
right.
talk about that, I would like everybody to please like and subscribe. Please, it takes 2 seconds. It would mean the world to us. Thank you. Alrighty. Well, then let's get to it, Brendan. I think it's time
That's
to
right.
go.
Yes, sir. It's Fincher week here on A Few Good Movies. I'm certainly pumped.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
you're pumped. We got
Mm-hmm.
Social Network today. We're going to be dropping Mank sometime over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Super excited for that. But first, we got to take care of business. We got to talk about The Social Network. Directed by David Fincher, written by Aaron Sorkin, came out in the year 2010.
Yep.
So, Matthew, did you see this movie in theaters?
Uh, wow. That's a good question. I really don't remember where the first time I saw this. That is a great
Mm-hmm.
question, actually. I don't know. I don't think that I did, but
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like if I would have remembered it, because it's a pretty memorable film. So I
For
feel like
sure.
I would have remembered if I saw it in theaters.
For sure, for sure. Because I remember it was like one of the first movies my parents like let me go to the movies by myself with a friend.
Okay, nice.
Like it was that, and I was just like, I don't remember how much I knew about David Fincher going into it.
Sure.
I'm not sure if I saw Seven at that point or not. I would imagine maybe not because I was like maybe 13, 14 when it came out. So I'm not sure if I was able to get sneak Seven past them. But I remember being excited because this movie had like one of the better trailers I had seen up to that point. It had that like really nice like Radiohead cover in there. Obviously, it has all those like iconic lines already built into the trailer. The whole "I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for everything."
Yeah, dude.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I just remember from the get go just being like, I have to see this movie,
Certainly.
whatever this is. I don't know. And I was like, like a dumb teenager. Obviously, I was on Facebook at that point and everything
Oh yeah.
and did all that stuff. So I was very just like, it was one of the first, like, I feel adult movies that I saw in a theater that I was like, oh, so that's what these are. Like, it can be something other than superheroes or pirates or action movies or whatever. Because just the script alone is so entrancing. It's so thrilling.
Yeah.
It just absolutely absorbs you from second one.
You can say that again right off the bat with that score, man. As soon as they drop in that dun, dun, dun.
Boo-doo.
Oh man,
So great.
so the score was actually done by what? It's Trent
Trent Reznor,
Reznor and
Atticus Ross.
Atticus Ross.
Mhm.
Incredible, man. And I was looking into these guys, it looks like they've done a lot of stuff together.
Yeah.
And
Obviously, they worked together. 9 Inch Nails. Trent Reznor was one of the people in the band. Atticus Ross was one of the producers.
oh, see, I
But
didn't
yeah,
know that. Okay.
yeah,
See, I didn't know it. Okay, Nine
Mhm.
Inch Nails. That's where they originated from, was that
yeah.
band?
Trent
Not
Reznor was,
bad.
yeah.
That's
So
so impressive. That's awesome.
right, I forget exactly. I'm pretty sure this is the first movie that they composed. I think specifically for Reznor. I just want to make sure on that. But
Uh okay, unless I saw, because I was looking under the credits. I guess I wasn't looking thoroughly enough. It might have been songs instead of them actually like just composing a film. But they
yeah.
had done. I saw that like Trent Reznor had done like Man on Fire. He's in Gone Girl.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
So
know if
yes,
that's. Go ahead.
I mean, Trent Reznor and Ross came back to do a Fincher score for Gone Girl because I think after How Well Social Network worked out, they were like, yeah, we're going to work together for the rest of our lives. Because
I guess yeah, Gone Girl came out afterwards. You're right.
yeah, it looks like up until Social Network, they had just done 9 Inch Nail stuff together.
Okay.
And this is Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's like first, I think, score
Oh.
together.
Okay.
Um, and I mean, it pays off. Like they get best score at the Academy Awards for
Yes,
this.
they did. Yeah.
Well deserved.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like it's one of the best. Like it'll get in your ear immediately. It's one of those better earworms where you just like start thinking about it and you're just like, boo, boo-doo,
It's so like calming,
boo,
but at the same time, like makes
boo.
you feel like a lot's going on.
Well,
It's really entrancing.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it works great in the movie, but like whenever you listen to it on earphones or headphones, there's this humming underneath it, which is
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. There's just so much going on underneath the
Hmm.
surface. It feels so hectic, so
Yeah.
crazy, while the top is still kind of
Yeah,
it's
but
so
that
calming.
is rising.
Because one of my favorite parts of the score is when you finally get the directed by David Fincher and he closes the door and you get the boom,
Yeah.
boom, and it's just like, oh shit, something's going on. But before we talk about all that, we got to talk about just the straight up cold open, which is, in my mind, one of the best first 5 minutes in a movie ever.
Absolutely. One of my favorites. I think it's so well written. It's one of the most, it's the coolest breakup scene of all time. I couldn't agree more. I love, it's so witty the way they just, the way it's wrote. It's incredible.
I mean, that's the Sorkin for you. Just that immediate click clack Broadway kind of dialogue.
For sure.
Straight fire. Sounds like a machine gun. Like there's this rhythm to it. There's a music to it that just, because we did your favorite writer, Quentin Tarantino, earlier this year when we did True Romance.
Yes, we did.
And I needed to come back with Sorkin because he's mine still. And I know that's not the, I know there's a little controversy surrounding Sorkin every once in a while because as much great stuff as he writes, he has some stumbles, which I feel like everyone is entitled to. But like when he stumbles hard. But when he's on, man, there's no one better for me personally. Like this is one of those movies that, as much as I could try to remember how much dialogue there is, how many great lines, like I couldn't. I can't do it. There are too many. I feel like every 10, 20 seconds, there's a banger of a line. Every couple of seconds. It's incredible.
I mean, every line seems to fit so perfect. Like nothing seems unnecessary in this movie. You just, it feels, it's just like thoroughly fleshed out, and from like beginning to finish, it really, like you said, there's too many things to even quote because every line is pretty quotable. You're like, oh, that was a great line. Oh, that was perfect how he said that. It was absolutely, I think you're spot on.
I mean, even in that opening scene between Erica and Mark, there are so many great lines. Obviously, the stinger is the best. The whole, it'll be because you're an asshole. That's the whole movie right there. That line.
Literally.
That's the whole movie in motion. It's the seismic drop in the bucket that everything springs forth from. But you have so many, like the whole thing about guys rowing crew, the whole thing about finals clubs. There's just so many different directions it goes in. And I think it's such a great introduction to Mark as a character.
I was going to just say that. That's exactly perfect.
Because I feel like you don't have that scene, you don't have the movie. Like, I feel like, and we're going to have to talk about this at some point, because obviously we haven't talked about it, but this is based on the story of how Facebook was created, how Mark Zuckerberg created essentially an empire from his Harvard dorm room. But how the movie takes on a much different tone if you don't have that scene, because I feel that as much as Mark is portrayed as kind of an asshole throughout the whole movie, I feel like there's still a heart to him and a like just sadness to Mark Zuckerberg in this movie that springs from that scene.
Absolutely.
As much as he tries to hide it, as much as he tries to guard it, the second Erica decides to leave, he like turns into a little boy. He's like, please don't go, please stay. Which we'll go ahead and get this out of the way. Like Jesse Eisenberg in this movie, powerhouse. Absolutely incredible performance.
Incredible. Inspiring performance. Inspiring.
Absolutely. Because I'm going to bring this up a lot when we talk about this, because I feel very strong about it. But for me, this is the best movie of the 2010s.
Okay.
Like no hold, like
very
period,
debatable.
Full stop. This is the movie.
Okay.
I think this movie comes to define how society, how people operate in this age now. It has so much to say about how people work on the internet, how people speak to each other through the internet, how the internet relates to everyone. And it's not the biggest theme in the movie, but it's like one of the more important threads that this movie has going for it.
I think what's incredible about it too is it shows how long ago, or how not long ago, I should say, things were so different. Like, you know, people, I know I do, we take for granted Facebook and Twitter and, you know, online, all this stuff. And it just wasn't that long ago where that stuff wasn't around. And
Yeah.
it's just really incredible to see the pace of, I guess, like social network and all that stuff, and just how it's boomed. And to see I wanted to touch real quick though what you were talking about on the opening sequence. Holy shit, I just lost my complete thought.
Before you do that, I did want to say real quick, just as far as like how things have changed, think about just how Mark Zuckerberg's persona has changed over the last 10 years since this movie. I feel like in 2010 when this movie came out, everyone was kind of like, oh, I don't know. I feel like the movie is like a little harsh to Mark Zuckerberg when, in all honesty, now this movie goes way too easy on him. He's kind of a sympathetic character in this movie. Now he's like maybe one of the most like the worst people on the planet at this point.
Yeah, you don't hear a lot of good news about him necessarily.
No. Everything you hear about him, he's just like giving away everyone's information to like all these foreign, like, not good stuff. Not good stuff from Mark Zuckerberg. Not a good look.
I mean, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, if you look how he created Facebook, you know, I mean, obviously, I don't know if the story is 100% accurate, but in the story, like, I mean, he very blatantly stole he stole it. It's
true. But that's the other thing, too. Is like, how much did he steal? How much did he not? Like, the great part about the ending of this movie, we're skipping a little bit, but how Rashida Jones is essentially just like, yeah, I'm sure a good amount of this is just bullshit that everyone just said. Which I love how this movie and how Aaron Sorkin just writes, it doesn't have to be factual. It doesn't have to be rooted in fact, all of this. It just has to be entertaining. I feel like it just has to speak to the human condition on some level. And I feel like that's what this movie does so well. I feel like Mark Zuckerberg is such an interesting protagonist for your story. And to see how this movie evolves, how him and Eduardo's relationship evolves, and then seeing other work from Sorkin like Steve Jobs, a movie that is probably 80% bullshit. Another movie I love, though, because it's so entertaining. It gets the broad strokes right. It gets the character right. And all that stuff kind of works. And it's why he's one of my favorite writers, because I hate biopics. I really do. I think in the wrong hands, they are some of the worst, most dull, boring movies in the world.
Really?
Just that's why I love a movie like Walk Hard so much, because it like takes those movies to task.
Yeah.
And is saying, you all do the same thing. All of you. Father problems, drug stage, his wife gets back together with him, it's all the same movie, every single one, which we're going to talk about later. But you think about a movie like King's Speech, which won Best Picture the year this came out, which is just this, like, I've seen that movie 20 times, The King's Speech.
Yeah.
Like, 20 different movies, like the same exact thing. Like, how is that different from, I don't know, like the next British period drama that came out like 6 months after?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't got an answer for you. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, we're by the end of this, we'll go on the whole tirade about how did this not win Best Picture and like all that, because I'm upset about it still 10 years on.
It won. What was it? So it won for best score, best best writing, like adapted screenplay, and then best editing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so we have that opening sequence. We have this great dialogue between Mark Zuckerberg and Erica Albright. Rooney Mara.
Real quick, that is what I wanted to say about the opening sequence. So they actually originally they had an Elvis Costello song playing over the beginning, which is like they showed it. Oh God, it's terrible. It shows how important like that score is and how much it sets a tone as along with that scene that we had just seen. Because when you play this Elvis Costello song, it felt like it was like Ferris Bueller's Day Off all of a sudden. It's like, this doesn't take on the tone that this movie is. And it's so, I don't know.
Remember the scene of him running through Harvard?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. And it just, oh man, it didn't connect at all. And granted, I've already seen the movie, so of course I'm going to choose that, I'm sure. But it just, for me, it showed the importance of like making sure that score is right on to set a tone. I
mean, that's the other thing too. I mean, as I already said, my favorite movie of the 2010s. I love every inch of this movie,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel quietly that scene of him running through Harvard is just amazing. I
Yeah.
love it so much. You have that score under it. You get this feel for the world we're in.
Yeah.
It is cold. It is sad. It is lonely. I love the way that David Fincher, just obviously like how his movies look all the time. I mean, Gone Girl, Seven, Zodiac, like one of the better directors of our time.
For sure.
There's a reason we're doing a week on him here and why we're so excited for Mank.
Exactly.
But, you know, there's an interesting, not a tug of war, but like a push and pull from Sorkin and Fincher of like, whose movie is this? Who's the one really taking more of the control? I feel like this is one of the arguments for Fincher is just the scene of him running through Harvard. I feel like you get everything you kind of need in these opening moments of him just frantically trying to get back to his blog so he can like feel in control again, feel powerful in some way, that he can spew all this nastiness and hatred and vitriol on the internet where no one's going to say anything to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just amazing. I really love it.
And it's the best. All the way down to him wearing the flip flops. Incredible. I love his pace too. I know it's a weird thing to say, but like just the pace he was running at, because I wasn't sure if he was like he had an idea or sometimes he just felt like he didn't. You know what I'm saying? It was just a weird run to me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It clicked. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
It was this
And then,
little thing about him.
Yeah, and then I mean, you hit the ground running with Erica Albright is a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this sequence is awesome. I'm going to say it every single time we talk about a scene. It's fantastic. The whole movie is fantastic. But specifically this first 20 minutes of the scene at the bar, the scene of him running through Harvard, the scene where he's just blogging and he creates Face Smash is so damn good. You're talking about pace. Rapid fire immediately, like getting you in, giving you what you need to know about Mark as a character, how he operates, how he is when he's hurt or when he needs to, when he feels like he's in a corner or he's been hurt or he's sad or he's angry. This is what he does. He immediately sits down at his computer, he blogs, and he creates something.
It's great. I love how the information is presented too, because it's basically Mark telling you about his life, but it's done through a blog, and he's doing a voiceover while he's also creating a website and making it sound easy. He's like simple and he's kid stuff, and it really you get locked in. You're like, okay, so this guy, he's a genius, and
but he's also doing this horrible, disgusting, perverted thing that is. It's still incredible to watch. I mean, I love the intercutting between him creating Face Smash and everyone going on it.
Yeah. And
then you have the party at, I think it's the Phoenix is the party that they keep showing.
I believe
it's either that or the Porcellian. I think it's the Phoenix.
Okay, yeah, it's one or the other. I feel like you're talking about that one where they're letting everyone come in and stuff. It's like
where they bring the girls on the buses.
Yeah.
Into the frat.
Oh, man. It might be the Phoenix. You might be right.
Yeah. Because we get a look at the Porcellian a little later when they bring Mark into the bike room and everything like that. It doesn't look like that.
That's right. You're right.
But I love how there's just this kind of juxtaposition between life on the internet and life in real life. And I feel like we're losing that life in real life thing so much more and more each day, especially with COVID and everything. Oh,
God. Yeah, no kidding.
Dude, this movie brought back so many like memories of just like, man, I'd love to go just on a night out to a bar. Like, that'd be great.
Not worry about anything. Just, hang out with some friends.
So good.
Yeah, man. Maybe one day, right?
Maybe one day.
Until then, we're confined to these boxes right here.
That's right. But you also, in the sequence, you have the introduction to Eduardo Saverin, played by Andrew Garfield. Another incredible performance. I mean, this movie is full of them. I mean, we're going to talk about Hammer a little later. We're going to talk about Timberlake. We talked about Mara a little bit. But this movie is stacked to the brim with great performances. it's just this perfect storm of these great creative forces coming together in so many different departments, so many different ways. You have Sorkin, a couple years removed from West Wing, writing the script. You have Fincher coming off of Zodiac. No, wait. I feel like, yeah, he's coming off of Zodiac. No, wait, I'm wrong. He's coming off of Benjamin Button. He did Zodiac right before Benjamin Button. Zodiac, Benjamin Button, then Social Network. I think that's right. You have Eisenberg, like, kind of starting to, like, pick up his pace as far as, like, a movie star and an actor. You have Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross coming in, hitting the ground running with this incredible score, which first one out the gate they win an Oscar for.
Not bad.
It's this perfect storm, honestly. I mean, we talk about movies, like a good movie just being a miracle in and of itself, how hard it is to just get all these people together to make this one cohesive thing. And then to see all these huge forces, because now Sorkin's a director and he's making his own movies. Eisenberg and everyone else has gone on to their own things. Hammer just did Call Me By Your Name 2 years ago. He's become his own kind of movie star. Obviously, Timberlake, huge name in pop music at the time. Everyone was like, he's going to be in that movie? Okay, what does Fincher see in him?
I remember thinking that as well. I certainly remember that, like that, because that was like I mean, basically most people's introduction to Justin Timberlake acting. I know he also did that movie where, like, I forget the name of it, where you got like a certain amount of time or whatever.
In Time.
Yeah. Pretty corny movie. Yeah. But like other than that, most people hadn't really seen Justin Timberlake act. So I was not nervous, but I was definitely like, what are we gonna get here?
But I mean, that's the thing with Fincher. He's a good director. Like, he brings in Justin Timberlake. He's fantastic as Sean Parker in the movie.
Yeah, love it.
You think about Gone Girl. He brings in Tyler Perry, who gives the best performance of his career. He's incredible in Gone Girl. I wish he would act more. Honestly,
hate me, dude. I haven't seen Gone Girl.
Dude, Gone Girl is fantastic. You need to be seeing Gone Girl.
I know.
So good.
That's what I said. Don't hate me.
I'm not hating you. I'm just saying you should see Gone Girl. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Gone Girl, one of the best theater experiences I have ever had.
Okay.
That movie just I watched it again 2-3 weeks ago because I've been rewatching all of Fincher's movies, getting ready for Mank. It still just absolutely knocks you on your ass every single time. So good. But like I'm saying, like he brings in Tyler Perry, who I don't think really acts outside of his movies, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I think he just does Tyler Perry movies.
That's all I've ever seen him in.
Yeah, but he gives himself over to Fincher, and he gives this fantastic performance in Gone Girl. So yeah, I mean, he's just good. He's good at what he does. I mean, there's always been these stories about how Fincher is as a director. 100 takes. There's a fun story about how Armie Hammer eats a lot in this movie. There's specifically a scene where they're going through the emails that Mark Zuckerberg is sending them. He's saying like, oh, we can't meet then. We're going to have to meet the week after that. He's like, oh, I can't meet this week. But he's eating a burger and fries at a joint. And Fincher just keeps doing takes of it for just an insert shot of them at a burger joint. Like, apparently he did like 50 or so takes, and Armie Hammer just has a stomach ache afterwards because he's eaten so much of a burger and fries that night. I fucking love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Fincher's a madman.
I mean, that's Kubrick-esque for sure. I mean, Kubrick was notorious for doing 1,000 takes.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm here for it. I'm always a fan of doing another take. So more power to him. Go Fincher. Go. I'm team 100 takes for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's always these stories about how he wants to break an actor down for a certain scene. I remember hearing stories about I think maybe the opening scene in particular where they did like 100 takes because he wanted them to just feel a certain way in their performances. I don't know. He's just a singular kind of director these days. And it makes me so excited for what Mank's going to do this time. And hopefully, I don't know. We have an interesting Oscar race this year, more interesting than anything else we've had in the last little bit.
Yeah.
Where obviously there's not as many movies coming out.
Right.
Which means maybe we finally have a movie that's something that's been just released on Netflix or something like that. A movie that's primarily meant for streaming actually wins an Oscar.
I feel like this year for sure that's going to happen. Not for sure, I guess. Let me not get ahead of myself. But it certainly seems, like you said, due to what's happening this year. I mean, I can't even think of – I mean, I know there was Tenet, which I know for reasons of COVID, it did terrible in the box office. It hasn't even, like, made its money back yet. It's not – it's hardly ideal. But what else has come out this year, like, actually within theaters? That's been like a big release.
Not much. I mean, there was the first 2 months where you had your Invisible Man, you had your Doolittle, you had your Onward. As far as what's come out in the last little bit, though, as far as like what might be in there for Oscar play, I mean, speaking of Sorkin, you might have Trial of Chicago 7 up there.
Okay.
Mank will probably be up there. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't nominate the Fincher movie about Citizen Kane. If there's one movie that the Oscars love nominating, it's movies about making movies and movies about old Hollywood and all that shit. So that seems primed to be Oscar darling. But yeah, so we maybe finally get Fincher into the Oscar conversation, and maybe we finally get him his gold this year. But yeah, it's just he's such an interesting figure, and I think each one of his movies is so similar yet so different from, I mean, you think about what Fincher's been doing for the last 10 so years. So you do Social Network, you do Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and Gone Girl in that like 4 or 5 year span. You make House of Cards, you make Mindhunter, and then you make Mank.
That's crazy.
Which are all about such different kinds of things. Like House of Cards is obviously a political kind of thing. Social Network is this biopic. Girl with Dragon Tattoo is this thriller based on this bestseller from, like, I forget exactly which country, but that you have Gone Girl, which is like Fincher taking this kind of trashy airport novel, and I mean no disrespect to Gillian Flynn, I think she's a great author and she wrote a great book, but just the themes and how that story operates, it's kind of just, it's this kind of trashy material and bringing it up to this insanely detailed and prestigious level.
Right.
Like, I'm still pissed that Rosamund Pike doesn't have a statue for Gone Girl, honestly. Like, I don't know how that didn't happen. And then you have Mank, which is about this like old Hollywood screenwriter who writes Citizen Kane with Orson Welles, and it's kind of insane, honestly.
Can't wait. Truly can't wait, man.
And you think about his movie before, it's fucking Benjamin Button.
You talk about a crazy movie, yeah. Benjamin Button is. I mean, that's one thing people quote all the time now is, "Oh, you got Benjamin Button's disease." I love that. That's a thing that people say. Yeah,
everybody knows about Benjamin Button, which is crazy because I don't think it's a movie people watch a lot. Because I've only seen it one time. I'm probably gonna watch it again before Mank comes out because it's one of the Fincher movies I have not seen a ton.
Yeah,
and I kind of want to get a little more reacquainted with Benjamin Button and all that. But yeah, it's a strange movie from what I remember. It's like his Forrest Gump, but it's a David Fincher kind of lens where it's just a little darker, a little crazier, and like, yeah.
He's just aging in reverse, dude, you know?
Yeah. And the makeup is just like one of the best things you've ever seen. You got Pitt. I mean, everybody knows how much I love Pitt.
Yeah, the boss.
Yeah, he's the best. But yeah, I mean, super interesting guy. We'll talk a little bit more about him throughout the course of the podcast. But yeah, so we have the scene where he's doing face smash and everything like that. He's going on his tirade. Erica Albright is a bitch, making comments about her bra size, making all these comments about girls and farm animals and all this shit. And it's just really reprehensible and very upsetting to watch a little bit. Because here's the thing we're going to talk about, and it's why I feel like Mark Zuckerberg is a little bit of a sympathetic character in this movie, as much as he is an asshole a good portion of it. But, you know, I had Facebook when I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
I was an angry, sad kid on the internet. I said shit I wish I didn't say and that I'm ashamed of.
You and me both.
I've gone back and looked at the Facebook page and was like, oh, God, this is pathetic. This is the worst kind of like of what I have to offer. And it's just, luckily, I feel like I've grown into a better person out of that shit, but rough times. And I feel like our generation has been stunted because of how much we have access to the internet and how we can say whatever we want to how many people at any given time.
Certainly changed the way we operate around each other and the way we talk to each other for sure in real life.
Absolutely.
There's definitely a different
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. People dare I say people feel much more entitled to their opinion these days.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah, certainly
100%.
like people, if you don't believe what they say, or I don't know, people, yeah, I think I'll just leave it at people definitely feel a little bit more entitled to their opinion
Yeah.
these days.
What's that whole, and I mean, we go back to that line that comes later in the movie where it's, the internet is not written in pencil, it's written in ink.
Yeah.
We're just like, once you say something on here, it's there forever, which has definitely come back to haunt a lot of people these days. Some for better, some for worse.
Yeah, especially in this day and age with the cancel culture. Yeah, people are getting canceled for saying something they said a decade ago.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I mean, you think about like the situation with like James Gunn and how he was almost fired off of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Well, he was fired off of Guardians of the Galaxy, and then they
came back.
We hired him back. But you know, and listen, I'll be upfront. I fucking hope to God no one ever finds the shit I said on Facebook when I was 13. Yikes.
I'm glad
Bad days for me.
I'm glad I don't have my MySpace login still. I don't want to dare look at, or not MySpace,
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't want to dare look at my Twitter.
Bad stuff.
Yeah.
Don't want to see it anymore.
I tried to offend people on my Twitter. I remember when I was in high school. So
well, that's what everyone does when they're in like middle high school. They do that shit.
You say stupid shit on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the worst. I like want to go back and punch myself in the face after the shit I said.
Well, come on. At the time, it was awesome. It was incredible. It was awesome at the time.
But like we were a bunch of shitheads.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure.
We were a bunch of shitty 13-year-olds, and that's the thing when you give shitty 13-year-olds good things, they're gonna like run amok with them and turn them into the worst extensions.
Without a doubt. They're gonna use it into the ground.
Horrible idea to give Facebook to 13-year-olds. Good night.
Shit, they get it at 6 or 7 now. It's getting worse.
Yeah.
There's 10-year-olds with TikToks, man. We're trending in the wrong direction.
That's right. I mean, I'll go ahead and say it. Negative impact on my life, all that shit, like downloading it and getting an account when I was like 13, 14, 15. Like, bad. Dude. And bad stuff.
If we want to go even to, more in depth, talking about like addiction to social networks and how I know, dude, sometimes I have to literally tell myself for Instagram, I have to be like, all right, 1, 2, 3, and I have to just put my phone down because I know I will literally just keep doing this. Shit's crazy, dude.
I had to take hiatuses where I just like, okay, I'm going to delete Instagram, Twitter, all this stuff for like a month.
Well,
just get away from it.
Dude, if it wasn't for me trying to promote this, I honestly was going to delete my Instagram for this month. But I still want to promote, so I was like, I'm going to hold on to it.
Yeah. I mean, you need a sabbatical every once in a while. It's a lot sometimes. And I think once again, that's why people are like, this movie took it so easy on Mark Zuckerberg because Facebook has created such a weird culture. All these social networks, Twitter, Instagram, like it's created this whole upset. Because I'll tell you what, I'll be upfront. Every time I see that little heart, I'm like, oh yay, let's go. One more like for me. This is great. It's addicting. It's horrible. I hate it.
Yeah, and especially now, I haven't seen it, but I know like that documentary, The Social Dilemma, came out. And apparently, I mean, everyone acted all surprised at the things they do. I can't say I'm too shocked. I haven't watched all of it though.
But like, yeah, it's like I expect they've all done the worst stuff imaginable with these sites.
For sure.
They've mined all our data. Yeah, it's awful. But like, to get back to the movie itself, but that's where I kind of see where Mark is coming from in this. Like, he just got his heart kicked in the ass. He's been drinking a little bit, and he has his laptop open. Bad combination every single time. Specifically, whenever I have my Instagram open, when I've been drinking a little bit and there's a movie going on, I go a little ham with that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Follow at Brent_Diesel910 for like Saturday night drunk movie Insta stories. They're great, but
it's good times.
Yeah, but left to in the wrong headspace, that can be a pretty horrible situation brewing. And
yeah, for sure.
It all comes to it. I mean, he creates Face Match, which is he's ranking women against each other across the Harvard campus. and everything. But then out of this, he learns that the stuff he makes, people like it. He gets 20,000 page requests in one night.
Dude, he shuts down the whole Harvard. Yeah, see, we're talking over each other. I'm sorry about that.
No,
crashes the Harvard server though. Incredible. I love that phone conversation that happens too.
Yeah.
When he talks about the unusual activity and he goes, "Well, unusual for 4 a.m." He said, "No, sir. This would be unusual for halftime at the Super Bowl." I love it.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, great. Wow, it's cracking."
But then talking about that Sorkin dialogue again, just how he goes through the process of like going through each Facebook and like getting all the data. Like, okay, here's how we're gonna do this. Here's how we're gonna like get all the pictures from here and put it on here. Here's how we're gonna have to get through this wall here. How I was gonna get like hack into this, hack into that. Like, it's that rhythm again. I always have this thing where, and I think we've talked about it a little bit. I think we talked about it a little on True Rants, where I don't feel like dialogue necessarily has to be natural or organic for it to be good, because then you go to stuff like this, or really any Sorkin project where it's this heightened sense of like crazy dialogue where no one talks like this. No one. I wish we did, but no one talks like they're in an episode of The West Wing or like they're in The Social Network or something like that. Like these people talk, they have some of the most clever shit ever put on screen at this machine gun pace, and it's fucking incredible.
Yeah, you're spot on though. Yeah, people don't talk like that. It reminds me of I can't remember his name, and it's gonna upset me. But there's a playwright who his plays are very like you got to be up tempo with it, or it just doesn't work. And that's
is it Mamet?
Oh,
because he's another one of those guys. Like he wrote Glengarry Glen Ross, and that's another one of those where it's just like profanity laden, like machine gun kind of dialogue.
I would know the name as soon as I heard it. I don't think it's Mamet. Oh man, see, I need a little fact checker every time. I just
gotcha. Do you remember anything that he's like made or anything like that?
Oh man, see, I just remember I can't remember any of the names. Just when I was still in class though, there was a couple plays that I have the shittiest memory, dude. I'm so sorry.
It's all good.
But we did a few plays, and well, I wasn't doing any of the scenes, but there was a couple people doing it. She was like, "You guys, if you're gonna pick him, I can hear his name." It's what I'm trying to. She was like, "Oh yeah, it's this up tempo rhythm, or else it's not gonna work." And it's very Fincher-esque, and God forgive me, but I just for the life of me cannot remember his name.
Gotcha. I mean, you have the other writers like Kenneth Lonergan is another one who has this like very kind of not like a very different style from these, but he makes movies where people don't necessarily talk like people in real life. But yeah, it's just I don't know. I love that shit. I really do. I think it's that thing with all movies, honestly, where I feel like people tend to want something natural and realistic when I feel like that's a very short-sighted way to look at movies. Like we should be pushing this envelope as being like, what can we do that's like unrealistic but is still appealing or is something fun that plays with the form itself?
I think
or bring something new to the table.
I think you're completely right, and you're basically almost quoting Quentin Tarantino directly too, and talking about how he says that movies aren't meant to be real; they're meant to be entertaining. And like I think you're absolutely right, because if you're writing something that's real, you're doing a documentary. Like a film is a film. Take all the elements and make it crazy. Like go Fear and Loathing, and just like go as crazy as you can with it. Get wild. Or I mean, I know how much I fell in love with Ocean's 12. The way they start doing crazy stuff like that. Just definitely. I love that idea of getting rid of. Oh, it has to be natural and real. Because I used to be the biggest stickler on that, to be honest. I used to want everything natural.
We all are.
I used to want it on.
Well, because here's the thing. I feel like our whole generation got stunted by The Dark Knight a little bit, where it's like, oh, it's so dark and gritty and realistic. That's what every movie has to be from now on.
Yeah.
But like another example I like to use, and one day we will do an episode on this movie. I can't guarantee when, but we will do it. But like Speed Racer, which is a movie that looks absolutely like nothing from this world, exactly, in any way, shape, or form. But it's fucking gorgeous. It's one of the greatest looking movies I've ever seen. And it doesn't conform to how a great looking movie is supposed to look either. It looks kind of fake. It looks artificial, but it's looks that way because it's a movie based on an anime, so it's like trying to use that aesthetic within the movie, and it looks incredible. But some people are like, oh, it looks a little too fake. Oh, it looks like a cartoon. I'm like, oh, you mean the thing it's based off of? Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, I love that. I mean, we've already been singing Sorkin's praises a lot, but I just love his dialogue so much. I really like, I've been going through West Wing again, and that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I really love Chicago 7. It's one of my favorite movies of the year so far. I obviously love his other movies. We named our channel after A Few Good Men. So, I mean, that's another sign right there.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like we're in the pocket for Sorkin at least a little bit. I feel like that's a no-brainer. But
there's a little bit of support behind him.
For sure. And then we have that realization by Mark and his buddies that we just crashed the Harvard network, and how it's just this moment. It's this really nice moment where just everything slows down for a second. And they're just looking at each other like, what the hell did we just do?
Yeah, they're like, wait a second, we might have stumbled onto something here.
Mm-hmm. And then I think that's the scene where we finally cut to the depositions, which is such a great device within this movie.
For sure.
I love the cutting back and forth in between the different trials and whichever scene they're flashing back to.
For sure. I definitely love how it sets up, like, okay, you know where this is headed, but how are we going to get here now? Like, how is this story going to get us there? This goes back to actually, so you remember when I told you how I first saw Breaking Bad, and I saw the last episode first, and then I watched it, it made it really fun because I was like, well, how in the hell did we get here?
Yeah.
And then you get to take that whole ride. And for some reason, I don't know, I'm always a big fan of knowing the end at the beginning and figuring out how to get there. And so, yes, like you said, such a great way to start giving out information and showing where we're going.
Because I feel like you have this moment with Mark and Eduardo where they're both kind of looking at each other like, your algorithm and my code, we just brought down the network for the most prestigious university in the world. We got 22,000 people to look at our website in 4 hours.
At 4
I was
a.m.
fucking drunk
yeah.
off my ass, and I did this.
Yeah.
And you just like wrote it up on the window, and then we used it. Like, there's something special about that. And then to immediately jump cut to them on opposing sides in this court case.
Yeah.
Eduardo suing him. It's a great little cut. I love that.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's immediately that introduction of like, how reliable are these people? How reliable are their accounts? With Mark being like, Erica said I said those things? There's no way. What are you talking about? And there's all these different things that they keep bringing up. Is this real? Is it not? What's exaggeration? What isn't? And I think it comes back to, obviously when this movie came out, everyone was talking about how factual is it? How real is it? And all that.
For sure.
And I think it just doesn't matter at the end of the day. I think Mark Zuckerberg was like, but I had a girlfriend like when I started it, and everyone's like, no, we don't care. We don't give a shit. Because the Erica Albright narrative is like too interesting. It makes this movie work so well because it all comes back to that. Every single moment that's in the back of Mark's head is Erica Albright. There are like two scenes specifically we're going to get to later, but after him and Eduardo hook up with those two Asian girls, and he sees her in the bar and they have that conversation, the second he leaves that conversation, he sees Eduardo again, and he's like, we need to expand. We need to go bigger. This needs to be better now. We need to go to work because he just got his ass kicked again. And then there's the great scene in the club later with Sean Parker where he tells him the story of how the reason he invented Napster was because there was this girl that was dating the captain of the lacrosse team. So he wanted to take her from her, and he created Napster out of it. And then he asked, do you ever think about the girl? He's like, no. So he's like, oh, okay, so we need to work together. We need to like get this thing going so that I can forget about Erica Albright, because that's the catalyst for the whole movie.
which is shown at the at the very end. It it goes
Mm-hmm.
full circle 100%. Like I said, we'll get to that, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, it shows at the end that that's the catalyst and the driver of this whole movie, which I
Mm-hmm.
think it's kind of nice. It's like
Yeah,
it kind of it really it's
it
kind of
is.
it brings it like a real human element to like even though he's this super genius, he's creating all this, and there's all these
Mm-hmm.
things going on, and he's stealing whatever. It's just at the end of the day, it goes to show that
He's
it's
just
still
this,
just
yeah, kind of sad guy. Like those reaction shots whenever when he gets the note that just says "you dick" and you see his face and he's just like
he's just
kind of broken because of it.
yeah he's got yeah, and he just leaves.
Yeah, and then he schools the whole class. Like, I know my shit. Don't even.
It's pretty awesome.
Which I hate a teacher who does that. Whenever I was in college and someone left and they're like, "Oh, somebody's leaving," it's just like, shut up.
Right, do your
Let them leave in
job.
peace.
Yeah,
Come on. You don't gotta call me out in front of the whole class. Like, what are you doing? Don't be a jerk.
honestly.
But it's such an interesting way to show this character because there is that exterior you see all the time where he's just this unrelenting asshole about everything. Like, always acting like he's the smartest in the room, always acting like he knows the exact right thing to do, right thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's very much a Sorkin character where when he acts that way, where he has like the best line to say immediately when someone poses him. Like, obviously, did that adequately answer your condescending question is one of the best lines in the movie.
I love that.
Such a great comeback, especially the whole lead up of my mind is back at the office of Facebook, where no one in this room, including your clients, have the mental capacity to even. It's great. It's incredible. But underneath it all, there's just a sad guy who doesn't have a lot of friends, like got his heartbeat out of him by this girl, and he's just trying to be cool in some way. That's why he has this idea and why he keeps bringing up with Facebook. He wants it to be cool. That's what it has going for it. It's cool. You don't need to bring anything. We don't need to do advertising. It just needs to be cool for right now.
Definitely.
And
plus, you could just tell how much he envies Sean Parker, how much he kind of wants to be like. You could tell, but just right from that whole first meeting, how he's excited and he wants to be Sean Parker, and it's for sure. It definitely goes along those lines of again, he wants to be cool, he wants to have friends, he wants to not be this broken guy who lost his one girlfriend and really loses his one real good friend too.
Yeah, which I mean, we haven't talked a lot about the relationship yet, but that's another key point of this movie is the Eduardo and Mark relationship.
For sure.
Which I think the more I watch it, the more I love it, the more I'm into it.
Andrew Garfield's incredible.
Yeah,
incredible.
Absolutely. He is. I mean, we'll get to it later, but I mean, the scene when he essentially gets all of his shares diluted is fucking fantastic.
I've got that one wrote down. Confrontation scene is, and then in bold letters, intense.
Yeah.
It is intense.
He's incredible.
Dude. Yeah, it's crazy.
But I love how you have this character who sees what Mark does, but still like tries to get under that skin as far as just like knowing what he's thinking, trying to figure out where he's coming from, knowing what his faults are and trying to understand him through all this because he's along for the ride for some of the shittier stuff that he does. Obviously, he was there to help with face smash and everything. Mm-hmm. You have some other stuff here and there we'll get to later. But, there's a reason that Mark comes to him with the proposition to be like, hey, give me $1,000 and we'll like get into business together. Mm-hmm. We should talk a little bit about what happens after the face smash debacle, but he gets brought in front of the ad board. He gets put on academic suspension. We have the great, I think I deserve a little recognition from the score.
Exactly.
So good.
My favorite line of that is when he said 4 hours. He said, that'd be impressive, but if you knew what you were looking for, it was wrote on my dorm room window.
Yeah, that's great.
It's so awesome.
And then
that's certainly another Sorkin witty comeback line that like people don't talk like that.
I mean, this movie's full. I mean, I was doing a little like half-assed internet research on all the stuff on IMDb and everything. And there's David Fincher says his favorite line in the movie is I think someone brings up some figure about math, and then Mark is like, "Hold on, let me check my math." Yep, you're
Oh
right.
no, it's when they're trying to figure out the $19,000, and it's like 18,000 plus 1,000. It's just the simplest question. He goes, "Let me check your math." That's right.
I love that shit. It's fantastic. He's such a little shit when he wants to be.
He is.
I love it. I mean,
It's
especially
incredible.
we can get into this now, but with the Winklevoss twins, who Armie Hammer has to do a lot of heavy lifting in this movie. A lot of heavy lifting with having to play two people.
Yeah. I didn't know that the first time I saw it. I didn't realize that was the same person. Like, it wasn't a real twin.
Yeah. That's how perfect this performance is.
Yeah, it's very...
Nails how both of them feel like different characters.
Yeah.
Cameron is the more reserved, kind of trying to be a gentleman about everything, trying to be the nicer guy, where Tyler is just the, no, fuck you. He stole our idea. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah,
let's get ready to go. With all that. It's so good. And we do actually get a chance to see the body double that they used for both of them whenever they're both in a scene together. There's the guy that like comes towards Aaron. I'm sorry, not Aaron. Towards Mark and Eduardo when after they hooked up with the girls in the bathroom. So that's the guy who is the body double for the Winklevoss twins. So whenever they're both in a scene together, and they put Hammer's face over that dude's face for all the scenes and everything. And it's kind of crazy trying to hear how the guy was trying to learn Armie Hammer's little twitches, how he performs, everything like that. Like, it's such an interesting process and such an interesting performance to look at, and how it seems so effortless within the movie.
Yeah.
It seems like this thing that they're just like, yeah, we don't worry about it. Like, it's something the movie calls so little attention to, and it's obviously this kind of technical marvel, just silently.
100%. I think you're spot on.
But that's just Fincher. Like, he's just like, yeah, I know how to do my job. What are you talking about? Yeah, I know how to do this shit. I'm David Fincher, one of the greatest directors alive. Like, don't question
me, bitch.
Exactly. I'm CEO, bitch. Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Get yourself a card. You got it.
Which that is
another great line.
I'm CEO, bitch. And then just him looking at the cards at the end and just like kind of feeling a little ashamed about everything. Like, he's not, and like he's embarrassed to show Sean and everything. Like, that's such a good device. Mm-hmm. I'm CEO, bitch. But we get this introduction to Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, and I always fuck up the names, so I want to make sure I get it right. Divya Narendra, who's played by Max Minghella, another very cool. I feel bad for so many people in this movie because they just get overshadowed by Hammer, by Eisenberg, and Garfield and Timberlake.
For sure.
But everyone is so dialed in all the time. You get Rooney Mara. You have Dakota Johnson showing up for like 5 minutes, which is always nice to look back and see, oh, that's right before like she hits big with 50 Shades of Grey and Bad Times at El Royale and all this other stuff. Such a fun movie. But you have this introduction to them. They're so great. They pull off that kind of assholes without really knowing it kind of thing. Like preppy jerks who just like kind of just have this air about them. You're just kind of like, these are like guys are a little scummy. I don't know what it is about them, but there's just something off about them in that like kind of way. Like, I love the whole comparison to we're the two blonde kids chasing Ralph Macchio around the gym and the Karate Kid.
You know, it's amazing. For some reason, the Karate Kid has been such a theme in my life lately. It showed up. I'm currently watching How I Met Your Mother, and Ralph Macchio is in the whole last episode, season 9. He's in the whole last season. I was a couple weeks ago, I saw somebody was watching Karate Kid. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why the Karate Kid keeps showing up, but yeah. Like
it's a great movie. I mean, hey, it's the best.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched My Cousin Vinny again like a week or two ago.
Hell yeah.
Another
dude.
Great Macchio performance.
Macchio and Pesci, oh man, that's a fun one.
Someday we got to do it.
That's
a classic for me. I love My Cousin Vinny.
Oh, you and me both, brother.
But we have this scene where we get introduced to the Winklevosses and Divya Narendra, and you once again, the script and everything is so economical with how it doles out information, how it doles out character. But essentially, I love the rowing aspect of these two guys, and I love how that connects to the dialogue at the beginning where Erica says she like loves the idea of dating somebody who rows crew. And I think that's another thing why Mark decides to just, I'm going to fuck these guys over so hard right now because they row crew.
Yeah, as soon as they said that, he was like, all right, I'm in.
Okay, let's see what they got to say.
Yeah, it's again, it goes back to that. It's Erica. It's all Erica.
It all comes back to Erica.
She's pushing the whole narrative, and it's not as obvious the first time through. You realize it at the end, but the more you watch the movie, the more you're like, wow, oh yeah, it's absolutely.
That's it. I mean, I think that's why I feel like I decided to do this movie as opposed to something else, because obviously there's a lot to pick from. We could have done Seven. We could have done Fight Club. We could have done Zodiac, Gone Girl. There's so many great options with Fincher. But I feel like this movie, I just get a different perspective from it every time I watch it.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'm pulled in by the Zuckerberg part of it. Sometimes I'm pulled in by the Eduardo Saverin part of it, and that's what I kind of focus on. Sometimes I'm pulled in by the Winklevoss aspect of it. I feel like those three subsets of characters each have this like fight for who is the movie about. And obviously at the end of the day, it's Zuckerberg, but they all have such these interesting perspectives that all tie into the movie as a whole.
Yeah.
That you can look at the movie from everybody's perspective and find a different way to look at this movie, which is very fun. I think it's great at that kind of stuff. And I mean, obviously, that's why Sorkin and Fincher are the best, because they can do shit like that.
For sure.
And you have that great scene where they go into the bike room of the Porcellian. They do the whole layout, like, here's why you should work on our website, and here's what the website is. It's the Harvard Connection. It's like Friendster or MySpace, which you love to hear a Friendster reference. That's a good one right there.
I never had Friendster.
No. I could not. If someone put up like what a Friendster page looks like, I couldn't tell you. No, honestly, it's crazy. But how the like linchpin of this whole thing is exclusivity. You have to have a harvard.edu account to have a Harvard Connection page. And I love how they had this idea and they just rag on it the whole movie. I fucking love Match.com for Harvard guys. That's a great one. When Eduardo comes in to give testimony in their case, he calls it the Winklevoss's little dating site. Because everyone is just like, fuck these guys.
Zuckerberg calls him the Winklevi.
Yeah.
When he's talking about it at one point, he references him as like as the Wrinklevi instead of the Wrinklevosses, which is awesome. Just the most subtle shot.
Yeah. Well, it's just like also they leave themselves open to it, because one of my favorite character things with the Winklevosses is my last name is Tyler Winklevoss. Winklevoss, Winklevoss. Tyler spelled the usual way. Cameron Winklevoss. Winklevoss, same way that my brother spelled it. Cameron spelled the usual way. Like, just that, such a shitty, like, thing to say. Just shit-eating, like, God, you're pretentious.
They certainly are. All the way down, like I said, the whole meeting. I love how the dean calls him out. He's like, you don't get special privilege here. The dean really just gets into him. He belittles them the whole time.
I forget what the lady's name is, and it hurts me because it's one of my favorite lines in the movie. It's like, it's something like, Karen, can you punch me in the face, please?
Yeah.
Continue. It's perfect. I love that scene. It's just absolute. I mean, it goes back to that Sorkin thing where someone has all the power in the room and is just dunking on people for like 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. He takes control of the room.
Yeah. It's just like, I understand. What would you like me to do about it?
Right.
What am I going to do? Like, why don't you come up with something new? And he's just talking about, like, this is an idea that could be upwards of millions. Like, millions? You don't think you're being, like, a little dramatic here? Like, come on, calm down for, like, 5 seconds.
I also like, it's fun how, because at the beginning of the scene, when they're sitting out in the waiting room, the girl talks about how this building's older than the country it's in. And then at the end of it, when he comes out and he breaks the door handle and he's like, oops, broke your 350-year-old door handle. Here you go.
Mm-hmm. It's great stuff. But from the Winklevoss meeting, we go to Eduardo, and Mark is giving him the pitch for what is eventually going to become Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And this part of the movie is really fun. You see just it being built from the ground up.
Definitely.
It's very short, but you also have under that all the emails that Mark and the Winklevosses had between each other, and how he's just like, no, we're not going to do that yet. And then in the background, you have, now back in 2010, this was huge, but like you see the layout for Facebook on these whiteboards and everything.
Yeah.
And you see it, and that's just very fun. I like that shit a lot. It's really
to imagine like the people in that room like being in there, like,
yeah,
it's what I like is how so naturally, like, they don't really, I mean, they even say it, we don't know what this is, like they just make something, you can just tell it draws people's attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just like, all right, well, let's go a little bit bigger, and all right, let's give it to another school, and then all of a sudden it was so easy to see the direction of where it was headed, and then they hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
So cool to see how, like, something that natural. I would love to see a Bill Gates-esque movie where we could see him in his garage building Microsoft too. I think that'd be real fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's kind of fun about Steve Jobs.
Yeah,
because you kind of get a little bit of that
for sure.
Which, I mean, if you like this movie, I feel like, and you haven't seen Steve Jobs, like that's another movie you should check out for sure.
I've seen Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is good.
I've
seen both of them. I've actually seen both of them. Which one? I'm gonna assume Sorkin's is not the one with Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, Sorkin's is the Fassbender one.
Yeah, because the one with Ashton Kutcher, he seems too like of a perfect person. Like they make him where he's unstoppable. He just knows everything.
Yeah.
But the one with Fassbender is just, oh man, it brings life to like one of these bigger than life characters. And I love, if I remember correctly, like that movie was basically a bunch of conversations that happened right before he's about to like release the iPhone or the iPod. And it's just all these problems that he has. And it's just like chaotic and craziness. Yeah.
I mean, talk about a movie that is like a play. It's basically 3 acts. The first one is I think it's I don't want to fuck it up, but I think it's the Mac launch is the first one.
Okay.
The second launch is the next computer, and then 3 is the iMac, I think. But I love how that movie's structured. Yeah. I love the fucking time jumps.
Yes.
Another fun like Danny Boyle thing that Danny Boyle brings to that movie as far as a director is just how the movie looks different each section.
Yeah.
They use like a different film, they use a different lens, all that good shit. Like it's fun. I mean that's the one thing I have a problem with in this like kind of later part of Sorkin's career, which I'm still a fan of. Obviously, like I said before, Trial of the Chicago 7. I can't talk. Trial of the Chicago 7 is one of my favorite movies of the year. I like Molly's Game a good bit.
Yeah.
But I feel like Sorkin has a problem where he gets in his own way a little bit.
Yeah.
How
so?
What's up?
I said how so? I was asking.
Gotcha. I thought you said also. I was like, okay, what's it? Okay,
no.
My bad. But so I feel like what is good about some of these other Sorkin movies is that there's another person on board who can like kind of rein in some of the ideas he's going with, or some of the themes, and like really bring something out of it that Sorkin himself wouldn't. Because obviously you have Few Good Men. Rob Reiner obviously turns that into something iconic. The Nicholson cruise of it, all of that. Then you think about this movie, and we talked about that like kind of tug of war between, is it a Fincher or a Sorkin movie? I feel like they both balance each other out, and once again, like we were talking about, that perfect storm, it just like brings out this perfect movie. And then you talk about something like Steve Jobs and like him teaming up with Danny Boyle, or you think of West Wing and how he has Thomas Schlamme is like one of the executive producers, also just being this creative voice who can see through some of the things that Sorkin is lacking in. And I think Sorkin is getting better as a director for sure. I think Chicago 7 is a much better directed movie than Molly's Game was, but it's that thing where I just wish there was another hand there to kind of keep Sorkin from reaching a little too far on certain things, and just also bring out what's special about his script specifically. I mean, another one that we're going to do someday is Moneyball, which is one of my favorite movies the last 10 years too. And that's a movie that like barely feels like a Sorkin movie because the like director is able to kind of rein in some of the certain aspects of it. Like, I don't know. That's my thing. I love Sorkin. Obviously, I talked about how much I love Sorkin already, but I just wish that he would still trust certain directors with his screenplays. Like, I would love to have seen Fincher and Sorkin team up again one more time, honestly. I mean, especially after this movie, which
I
is
would love to
just
see it.
a powerhouse. Which we get a nice little cameo from him later when they're going to the VCs in New York or whatever to see, or the ad execs or something. Wherever he's going to like try to get people to advertise on Facebook. You have Sorkin showing up. He's the guy who is like in the chair when Mark is doing the little.
Oh, that's okay. I didn't know that was him. That's awesome.
Yeah,
he said that was like a gag reflex.
Yeah,
almost like throwing up.
Not a like a.
It's awesome.
It's so good, so good. But you have this really nice montage where you see the development of Facebook, and then you see I forget the character's name. I know it's Tim from Jurassic Park. Not a lot of people know this, but Tim from Jurassic Park is in this movie as the second lead programmer.
That is where I recognized him from, dude. I remember as soon as it started, I was like, where have I seen this face?
Tim from Jurassic Park, baby.
It's the little kid. Yes, that's it. Oh, dude, you just made my whole day. I have actually been trying to figure that out since this morning. I watched it. Like, who in the hell is that?
It's Tim from Jurassic Park.
It's Tim from Jurassic Park. Beautiful.
Right? He's also the bass player in Bohemian Rhapsody, which is, not as fun as Jurassic Park or The Social Network, but, it's still like, okay, Tim from Jurassic Park, he's still getting work. That's nice to know because I love Jurassic Park so much,
awesome.
And he's great.
Wow, I'm so happy you said that.
Right? Isn't that great?
That's awesome.
But he comes in to ask Mark the whole, hey, there's this girl in your class. You know if she's dating anybody? And then they have the idea for relationship status, and then that sets off the whole thing, and that's a lot of fun. And then
and he has that brilliant idea of like, relationship status.
Yeah,
he didn't even finish the thought. He says, "People don't just walk around with it," and he just runs.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait. I need a day where I have a thought like that, where it's over.
Yeah.
I sprint.
Run out of the building, whichever one you're in. Just go.
Yeah, man. I hope I'm in Chick-fil-A and I'm like, it's over. And I just leave.
If you're not in a building, you find one to just run out of real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit a revolving door and just run around it.
Yeah, absolutely. But then you have the scene where Facebook is finally live, which feels huge. You have that nice moment between Mark and Eduardo where they have this moment together. No one else is really in the room. They're just like, we built this. We did it. Like Facebook, it's ours now. Still the Facebook at that point.
Right.
We're going to drop the later, so that's going to be fun. But it's this very sweet moment. And then you go pretty much right into the Winklevoss twins finding out that Facebook is now live and they've had their idea stolen. Which I fucking love these meetings between the Winklevoss twins in Nivi and Narendra. They just fucking shit talk Mark Zuckerberg every time they're on screen. It's great.
Yes.
There's so many great Sorkin lines that come out of this. No, I want to hire the Sopranos to beat the shit out of them with a hammer. That's great. One of my favorites. We don't even need to do that. I'm 6'4", 220, and there are two of me.
There's two of me.
Great stuff. But yeah, then we kind of just get into the real meat of the movie. We've been doing kind of more setup with character and everything, but this is where we're really like, okay, Mark is about to fuck everyone he knows over.
Yeah.
From here on out. And from here you go in so many different paths. This is where kind of we start to meet Sean Parker, about Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, let's get into that. Let's get into that first meeting of Sean Parker.
Yeah.
Well, actually, even better, the introduction of Sean Parker, where we meet him when he's with that girl from Stanford.
Yeah.
And how go ahead.
Great joke. What's my name? Stanford. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it.
It really reminded me of you've seen The Big Short, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. It really reminded me almost of like the Ryan Reynolds character. Nice in and out. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
That's right. Represent.
Hell yeah, we out here.
Got to. Had to do
it. But it reminds me of the Ryan Reynolds character in The Big Short and kind of how he just like stumbles upon the Facebook and he's like, what is this? What the hell we got going on here? I need to meet Mark Zuckerberg immediately. What's going on here?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
so that was fun.
that
was really fun.
100%. I mean, Gosling in Big Short is fantastic. Love that movie so much. Jack to the Tits is still something I use a good bit here.
Big Short, great. We got it. That we might be doing that one sooner than later. That's one of my personal favorites. That movie.
It's great.
So many good actors. It's got a powerhouse of actors, and I mean, I love the story too. It's another biopic. So you know, but
I mean, I know you are too, but I fucking love McKay. So like, I'm down to do a McKay movie because I mean, Step Brothers is something we're gonna have to do sometime down the line.
Oh God,
one of my favorite comedies all time.
Funny, you want to talk about the most quotable movie ever? It's probably that movie or the original Anchorman for me. Two most quotable movies out there.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
comedy.
I use fucking. You know what I got for Christmas? A crushed soul. So often. I used it today because we're recording this on Sunday. Fantasy football is going on, and obviously, with fantasy football, there are many crushed souls on many different days at different times. So that's what I pulled out today.
This is like the last week to get into the playoffs too, isn't it?
That's right. And I'm out, which is unfortunate.
The team I went with, it's so me and my roommate Jordan, he has a team, and I just drafted it for him. Mm-hmm. So I don't have the app or anything, but I know he's battling today for the 6th spot in the playoffs. So
nice.
we got Eckler back. We're going off on a tangent here, but go Chargers.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, dude, I got fucked today.
Yeah,
dude. So here's my lineup: Jones, Connor, Taylor, Thielen, Kittle, all out today.
I was gonna say, aren't those guys all on reserve?
All out.
That's your whole team.
Yeah.
That's tough.
So I got fucked today as far as roster. I think as far as last time I'm still winning, but like, Jesus, I thought I didn't know how I was going to cover. And I'm out of playoffs. I mean, when you have a roster like that and you have so many people injured, but like, dude, I got roasted today as far as like having to pick a roster. Tough times.
Yeah, it's tough.
But back to the Social Network. So yeah, I agree. That scene where we're introduced to Sean Parker, I love the dialogue between him and Dakota Johnson. The whole Q&A, like, your name is Amy. Your father, like, does this. You do, your mother does that. Like, knows everything, remembers everything. And the reveal of, like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. You're unemployed. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, so you're unemployed?
No, I would say I'm an entrepreneur. What was your latest preneur? I created a website where you could download music for free. Oh, so like Sean Parker. Exactly like Sean Parker. I'm Sean Parker. Nice to meet you. Like, it's great because you also get that like cockiness and that dickishness from Sean Parker that kind of runs through the rest of the movie and with his character in this like little dose. Where he's like trying to be a little charming, but he's just also such a dick.
Yeah, he definitely is. And justice is served when Edward punks him. I think that really is one of the greatest moments of the whole movie.
100%. I mean, the line the line is what gets it for me. I like standing next to you, Sean. Mm-hmm. Makes me look so tough. That's great. It's great.
It really punks him out there. It's truly incredible.
100%. I mean, then unless you have anything else you want to say about it, but like we can go into the meeting itself, which is incredible. Like another great combination of the score, the direction, the script, editing, the cutting back and forth between the cases and the actual meeting. Fantastic. So good.
I love how Sean comes in and we're talking about the Sean meeting, like them, like
the dinner
time, right? Okay, yeah. How he just comes in and again, he's that character that takes over the scene. And he starts talking about, why don't you guys have food? He orders for everybody. He gets drinks. I thought it was
tuna tartare.
I thought one of the funniest parts of that I had to appreciate was them arguing at the beginning, like, are we gonna get ID'd? This is gonna look really bad if we get ID'd. We're gonna look really unprofessional.
Yeah. Which, dude, I'm telling you, because I told you I saw this movie when I was 13 or 14 when it came out in theaters. lot of whiplash going on when Brenda Song is in this movie and what she does in this movie after knowing her from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah, that's really like because Brenda Song is immediately Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and to see her,
it's
a different
fucking
side of her.
yeah, it is. I mean, she fucking is nuts in this movie.
She is insane, dude. She's
the
crazy.
burning of the top of the scarf and everything. She's insane. I love that, but like I also love that just like I don't know. That's one of those first things you see when you're like, oh, this person I knew as a child in these like kid shows I watched is now in a David Fincher movie acting like a crazy person.
Yeah, and your first introduction to her, I mean, obviously after like the little talk, but then all of a sudden they're just in the bathroom and it's you're getting the X-rated version of Brenda Song right off the bat. You go from Disney to just a sex scene. Just
Which I'm trying to remember if it was still like on the air. New episodes were airing when it happened. I can't remember.
God, I would hope not, but who knows?
Yeah, but pretty insane. I think that kind of ages like narrows like what our age group is as far as like when we see her in this movie, we're like, oh, I forget the first name because it's obviously I think it's been a while since I've watched The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. But
her name's
Tipton. I know the last name is Tipton.
It's London.
London Tipton. That's right. London Tipton in The Social Network. I don't know. That's fun. But then you get what Eduardo Saverin calls the Sean Parker Variety Hour or something like that, or the Power Hour, whatever. And it's like I said before, I mean, it's fantastic. I really think it is.
Sorry, my dad's calling me. You got to give me 1 second here. I'll cut this out.
Go for it.
Hey, I'm in the middle of doing this podcast. I can't talk right now. Nope, I'll call you when I'm done here. Incredible, people. That's how it's done right there. That's how you take a phone call live on the air. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And then I love the whole. Then he made his one contribution to the company. Drop the clean.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's perfect. Facebook.
It's a great line.
It wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same if it was the Facebook. I mean, I guess it would. We wouldn't know it, but Facebook clean. He says, drop the cleaner. Yeah.
And I love these different sides of Sean that we see. I love whenever Sean Parker gets super paranoid. He's like, they sent all these people after me.
Mm-hmm.
They made sure that high-priced escorts were always like coming up to me in bars and asking me to go do shit with them, and the drug dealers would find me. And it's just like, this guy's insane. It's that perfect kind of like Fincher paranoia that we all have come to know and love. And then from there is where we kind of get into the downfall. Everything like this is where everything starts to kind of fall down. Obviously, we have the scene with the chicken. The chicken is great. I love the chicken story.
Yes, animal abuse.
The freak out that Eduardo has during this whole thing. I love the little Facebook group that Mark has going where he's trying to like get his shit together for his art final. And did you happen to see the account name he's using?
No, I didn't see it. What was it?
Tyler Durden.
Oh God, what is that name? No. Fight Club. Perfect. Okay, but yes, that's right. That's awesome. What a great little Easter egg in there. Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, it works as an Easter egg, but I love how it's also a thing that a kid in college, if he was going to pick a pseudonym for some online profile, like, yeah, I'm Tyler Durden from Fight Club, like in 2003. Like it works on both levels, and I think that's why Fincher would have put that in there, because I don't think he's the kind of guy who would usually do something like that.
Sure.
But I think he knows that, unfortunately, his movie became a symbol for something that he doesn't really like, and it was like misconstrued as something. And every college kid for like 5 years had a Fight Club poster on their wall. And it was like, yeah, this is the most badass. I fucking love Tyler Durden. He's awesome. Yeah. It's just like, you all absolutely misunderstood what I was going for. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Hey, man. Once you put the art out there, it's up for interpretation, all right?
I mean, hey, it happens. It happens.
People are going to take it how they want it.
There was this great YouTube video I watched over the last week or two by a guy named Patrick Willems. If you're interested in movies like we are and everything like that, that's a good channel to check out. But he was talking about how in comics, when Alan Moore wrote all these big kind of cornerstone texts of graphic novels in the 80s, like he wrote Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, Killing Joke, everything like that. He would talk about how he wrote these things to be something different in comics and make it so people would be able to do more with comics. But then it turned out everyone took the wrong lessons from it. It was like, oh, so everything has to be dark and gritty and realistic and violent. And he was like, no, that's not what I was trying to do. And it's like, nope, that's what we're going to do for the next 30 years. It's like, God damn it. Now I regret all of it. And it's, yeah. And I feel like Fincher is one of those guys who has his work time and time again kind of misconstrued, everything like that. And it kind of stinks because I feel like Fight Club is such a great movie, but has such this aura around it that kind of sucks for it, because I still have not really had that viewing of Fight Club where I'm like fully 100% into it.
Yeah, Fight Club for whatever reason is sometimes hard to get into. It really, really is.
But it's still a great movie. It's just there's so much like the effect it's had over the last 20 years, everything like that, and how like so many people have had the wrong readings of it, and how it's gotten into the culture in like all these wrong ways. But you know, I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, David Fincher made a great movie, and people. I mean, it's the same thing with like Dark Knight, and with Christopher Nolan, where everyone learned the wrong lesson from Dark Knight. It's like, oh, so everything has to be dark and gritty and realistic, and that's what we need from our comic book movies and our like big popcorn movies for the rest of time.
Right.
And we've been dealing with the fallout for the last 10 years.
Yeah, there was a different tone set by the Dark Knight series.
100%. And then after the chicken scene, which I love how like you embarrass the company, all that stuff. Speaking of, I did not know that you couldn't feed chicken to a chicken. Fish don't fish, eat other fish. The marlins and the trout. It's great. I love that shit. Then we have the scene where, well, not the scene, but then we have the section where Mark moves out to California.
Yep.
I love the tryouts. The tryouts are great.
Where they have to take shots and decode and break through, and hack.
So good. And then we have them move out to California. Sean is also there. And we have this club scene, which I think kind of sets the tone for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Kind of where we're going to be going. Because now Mark is kind of under Sean's, or like in Sean's clutches as far as what Sean wants him to do, everything like that. Because you're right, when we talk about, he is fully in on Sean Parker. He's on the bandwagon. He wants to be Sean Parker so bad. He's all in on Sean Parker stock. And I love the story of the whole, the guy who invented Victoria's Secret and how he like jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge after selling it after a couple of years. I love the line, and the water under the Golden Gate Bridge is freezing cold.
Exactly.
So good. So good.
I love that tone. Yeah, I really do. I love the way he presents that information. I also think it's funny how he says all of that just to be like, I'm dating a Victoria's Secret model. He just throws that in because that's what starts the story. But at the end of it, it's the most minor detail. He's like, oh, yeah, by the way, that's why I said all that.
Yeah. But it's also, I love how he's just like, was that a parable? They're in this club and he has to do this whole thing about the Victoria's Secret and everything like that. Like, that's great. And yeah. And then we really see kind of the downfall of this character. When he like severs all of his ties with Eduardo, he's starting to think of him like be an absolute jerk to Eduardo and everything like that.
Yeah, especially when he shows up there, like from the airport, he doesn't pick him up. That really that's what really sets the tone for the rest of the movie is once Edward shows up, or Eduardo, forgive me.
Yeah. I mean, once Sean Parker asks the question, so where's Eduardo? I feel like that's the moment where it's just like, oh.
Yeah, you can see he's trying to divide it right there. Yeah, immediately.
Yeah. And even when they go to see those angel investors, and they're just like, who's Eduardo Saverin? Like, those are the moments where you're just like, oh, so this shit is done, essentially. Like, they're going apart like it's almost over.
Yeah.
Then we have some stuff with the Winklevoss. Obviously, this whole time they've been trying to figure out whether they should sue or not sue Mark Zuckerberg for stealing their shit.
Try to build a case.
We talked about the scene where they go to the dean of the college, which that's another great entitled scene I think it's Tyler who goes on the tirade, but he's like, listen, we pay tuition at this school, okay? We row for this school. We're going to go to the Olympics for this school. We're going to get a meeting with the dean. It's just like, okay.
Super entitled. Like, okay, buddy.
Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, we get it. Your father's rich. Okay, that's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
And we have the race, which is another, it's kind of like the running through Harvard sequence where it's just this low key, very understated, but like incredible sequence of score, editing, direction. So good. So good. I love how this movie just has moments where they'll let each creative have their moment to really shine. Like, that's definitely a Fincher section where he's just like, oh, I'm going to just do this boat race and it's going to be fucking amazing. Like, you guys are going to not believe your eyes with how good it is.
It is shot really well, the way they get everyone's faces up close. And it's not even really necessary to show all that.
No.
But it's really great to watch. I agree.
So yes, because it's also, it sets up the whole speech that Cameron's going to give Tyler. Just like, listen, I'm fine with the race we just lost. We lost by a second. They're going to see us again. What I do mind is showing up for a race on Monday that was run on Saturday or something like that. Which I love them going through the ballroom. Everyone's like, oh man, that was the closest race they've ever seen.
Yeah, tough loss.
I've never seen a race.
Loss.
I've never seen a race that close. You know, my father used to take me here. I've been coming here since I was a little kid. I've never seen a race that close. I love.
They're just so bitter. They're so bitter about it the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, how can you not be? Yeah, right. Absolutely. I love the whole, no, sir, usually races of this length are won by like a boat length or two. Yes, absolutely right. A boat length or two. Terribly close. Horribly close.
And then he goes, oh, gotta go. And he just goes somewhere else.
Oh, man. It's so good. It's so good. And then we have Tyler finally deciding, yeah, let's gut the freaking nerd. Let's sue him, which I love. That's a great, just little coda on the Winklevoss story. And then the Eduardo stuff kind of comes out because we have that scene where he shows up and Mark hasn't picked him up from the airport. And Mark essentially tells him, if you're not with us, we're going to be left behind. And you have this really interesting moment from Eisenberg where he does the whole, like, I need you to be out here. I need you out here with me. Him kind of begging Eduardo.
Yeah, it's like,
stay out there.
Yeah, like, this is it, man. Like, it's happening now. You need to be out here. You need to stay.
Mm-hmm. And then Eduardo kind of refuses. And freezes the bank account.
Yeah, he goes a step further, freezes the bank account.
Mm-hmm. And which is the final nail in the coffin, almost. Mark is done. Sean is done. It's all going to go from there. Then we have that scene where Mark calls him, tells him the situation. Like, how dare you? Like, the servers are going to go down. They're going to crash. You know what? Like, keeps us apart from MySpace and Friendster. We don't crash ever.
Ever, yeah.
And then he tells Eduardo, hey, we just got $500,000, baby. Don't even worry about it. We're good. We're chilling. I need you out here. I need my CFO. Mm-hmm. Sounds like we're having a party. Like, it's going to be great. We get the $500,000. Like, Eduardo's riding high. We're getting the money. I'm getting my 30%. It's going to be great. Sean Parker has 7%. Can live with that. Mm-hmm. And we have all that jazz. And it's great. And he talks about the 1 million subscriber party or 1 million members party.
Yes.
And how he's got to come back out for it. And we go pretty much right into that scene.
Yeah, definitely.
And we have, once again, I got to bring up how I love the frame of the court case. I love the intercutting between what we're seeing in real time and in the flashback. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite sequences is how much were Mark shares diluted? It wasn't.
Yep.
How much were Sean Parker's shares diluted? It wasn't. And how much were Peter Thiel's? It wasn't. And what were yours? 0.03%.
It's tough.
It's a tough beat.
Tough beat. In terms of the court case, that's the nail in the coffin right there. It's like,
yeah.
That's kind of tough. Kind of played him.
For sure. And then we have one of the best moments in the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Andrew Garfield storming out
Mm-hmm.
into the Facebook offices. Mark! I mean, this is when I see the trailer, this is the scene that sells me. Which, it stinks they kind of show the scene in the trailer, but also it's like, nah, we got to get you ready. Like, this is going to be the fight of the century right here.
Mm-hmm.
Is just Andrew Garfield screaming at Jesse Eisenberg. And it's perfect. It's incredible. It's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
Destroys the laptop. He's got spit flying out of his mouth. He's
plugged in?
Yeah, exactly. And you could feel it. I wanted to break the laptop too. I was like, let's go. I got worked up. I saw it feels almost, it's very rewarding to watch him.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks what happened to him, but it's rewarding to watch him go out there and
100%.
punk everyone and just be the man for a second.
Sorry, my product's in the cleaners. I left my flip-flops in my fuck you sweatpants.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It is.
It's incredible.
It is. See, Jinx.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, it's just this incredible moment. And of course, the great kind of, and I bet what annoyed you the most was that they named me as a co-creator of Facebook, which I am. You better lawyer up, asshole, because when I come back, I'm not coming back for 30%. I'm coming back for, like, it's the Sorkin shit. It's the Sorkin. It's why you're a fan of Aaron Sorkin in the first place. It's this kind of dialogue. It's this kind of showdown. It's, colors of the fucking Lionel Caffey. Why am I blanking on his name? But the Tom Cruise Nicholson showdown in Few Good Men.
Oh, man.
Two people screaming at each other.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
Everyone
absolutely.
knows. Yeah, everyone knows.
Absolutely. It's the best. But yeah, and then it's heartbreaking because once again, it comes back to this thing and this exterior that Mark has that you feel like it finally breaks at this moment, and he just can't help but kind of be sad and upset in that moment because he got the "I'm CEO, bitch" things made, and they get delivered like right after it, and he just feels broken after that.
He's kind of lost touch of like with who he is, like what the people that got him where he is.
I mean, there's no one else around him at that point. I mean, there's Sean, but like that's not really anything. That's just a guy who latched onto him.
Yeah, after he latched onto the idea that he found. He didn't even necessarily like Mark. He likes Mark's idea.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, we haven't talked too much about just the relationship itself, but I feel like these are two guys who genuinely care about each other. I feel like Mark hasn't had someone try to understand him in the way that Eduardo has.
For sure.
And I don't think Eduardo has met a person like Mark, and I think he likes Mark because of the fact that he's unlike anyone he's ever met. He's a super smart guy who has these great ideas, who can put in the work. He's super motivated. And then just to see it fall apart in front of our eyes is kind of sad.
Yeah, it is, especially like when Mark or Eduardo's in the chair and this is when we're back and they're actually like, when like the lawyers and everything are there.
Yeah.
And he's looking away and he's just like, I was your only friend.
Yeah.
He's like, I was your only friend. And he's like, and you did this. It's sad. That's that point in the moment where you're like, yeah.
And you have that Jesse Eisenberg sad face, and it hurts a little bit. And yeah, you get that scene, and it's heartbreaking. And then we have the scene where Sean is arrested for coke and all that shit in possession.
With the underage in the party, the red flag popping up that Eduardo had talked about from the very beginning.
Yeah. Him being super paranoid. He's like, you think Eduardo had something to do with this? And he's like, go home, Sean. I can't even. No, I'm done.
Yeah, I can't do any more of this.
And he's just like, just seeing Mark, because I think that's the thing that the movie really hammers home at the end. Because, he gets the 1 million members, and he's getting even more investors interested. We didn't even talk about the Mitchell Manningham scene where he goes in in his pajamas and his flip-flops to the pitch meeting. And he just goes in and he's like, who is Mitchell Manningham? Sean Parker says, fuck you. Like, that whole thing. We didn't even talk about that, but, this guy he's trying to be all the time. This guy, and then to see Sean Parker like go down this path too, and then he's just like, where do I go from here? But just this juxtaposition of like all the shit is finally going right for him. People are investing. He has 1 million people on his site. He's expanded to all these different schools.
Mm-hmm.
They're now in Europe.
Different continents. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And he's just super fucking bummed that his friend is now gone and is not going to be friends with him anymore.
It's that yin and yang. I feel like that's like a theme of life. I feel like, I swear, you go listen to anybody in real life and their success stories, and it almost seems like every time, right when something really, really great is happening, it coincides with something really, really bad happening.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. That's a really interesting thing to think about, but it seems definitely that's a theme of, I feel like, a lot of success stories.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching some of the special features on the Blu-ray and everything about the making of the movie, and Sorkin was talking about how, like, and some of the other actors were talking about, like, the making of Facebook is, like, the sixth thing that this movie is about. Because it's
literally.
It's about friendship and betrayal and all this. And it really is, like, it's a story as old as time. Like, it has all these themes that have been around since, you know, Shakespeare, or anyone who's ever told a story of just success, and with it, losing yourself. I mean,
the people
obviously,
that you care about.
Yeah, I mean, you can look to The Godfather. You can look. I mean, the recent example is Breaking Bad. All this other, like Citizen Kane. I mean, we're going to talk about Mank this week, literally, which is a pretty solid mirroring of this story, where it's this guy who loses all of his friends, all the people around him, in search of power and money.
And then at the end, he's talking about Rosebud, and that's all.
And he's just like, what he lost.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, it's not an old story, but just seeing it done in this way is kind of it's incredible. Yeah. I mean, this is why I latched onto it as like this movie that I think is, like I said at the beginning, like the best of the decade. I think it really is. And then we have this final scene between Mark Zuckerberg and Rashida Jones.
Great scene.
Right? I mean, it just ties the movie in a nice little bow, kind of recontextualizes everything you just saw, because she does the whole thing like, listen, when people are giving emotional testimony in a case like this, I assume 85% of it is exaggeration. Mm-hmm. And the other 15 is perjury or something like that.
Exactly. My favorite, my absolute favorite quote from that last bit is right when she's walking out and she turns and says, "You're not an asshole, Mark. You're just trying so hard to be."
Yeah.
And like, that's the movie. That's it. And then all of a sudden he goes to Erica Albright's page, and I love how he has to sit and think about it for a sec. And then he tries to add her as a friend, and then it just starts. It's beautiful how they do that. He's just sitting there refreshing, and they start giving the real life details of like how these things played out, how they re-put Eduardo's name on as the CFO and co-founder.
Yeah, on the masthead.
For sure, yeah. So it was. I really, really enjoyed that last bit.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you have this other stuff like they talk about how they're going to settle because of what would happen if the case actually went to court.
Yeah, and how she would turn them instantly.
Likability, farm animals.
Yeah,
all that shit. How it comes back at the end, and how. Essentially, that people believe that Mark planned, or like the movie tries to show you, or the movie just asked, like, did Mark plant the story about the chicken? Right. Did he? I don't know. And then ask the same question, like, did Mark call the cops on Sean Parker to that party? We don't know. It's like, it doesn't matter. I asked the question. And I feel like that's what a lot of this movie is I don't know. I asked, did he? Did he not? Because you don't see Mark doing these nefarious things. You don't see him in the meeting like, yeah, let's fuck over Eduardo. It's, you know.
It just happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. They don't show, like you said, this is where you say they went light on Zuckerberg. Because all the things where he does asshole stuff, they kind of leave up to the imagination. They don't actually shoot that part. You don't see any of that in the movie.
Yeah. Like, you don't see him actively talking to the Winklevoss twins or writing these emails or really showing what he's doing to the Winklevoss. And you don't really see what he's doing to Eduardo, but you're seeing their perspective and like what they see.
For sure. Because
what Mark Zuckerberg does to him.
Because it's coming out through the deposition. Like it's basically, you know, you're seeing it as they're telling the story in court, essentially, which again, we've talked about how great that is and how well it works in this movie.
For sure. And then, I mean, the final shot of this movie is incredible. Like there are now 500 million people that use Facebook. I think the evaluation is like $25 billion or something crazy like that. And it's just the sad guy sitting in front of his computer, the richest man in the world.
Refreshing his page.
And he's just like, can Erica Albright forgive me for the terrible things I did? Can I like maybe try to not be a huge asshole all the time?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's the end of the movie.
That's it.
It's just, we missed, like, didn't talk as much about the court stuff as maybe I like to, because I love all the court shit. I really do. I mean, it's a Sorkin movie. He wrote Few Good Men. Like, I love Aaron Sorkin doing trial stuff.
Yeah, those lawyers going back and forth, shooting questions at each other is definitely fun and an edgy part of the movie. Yeah,
I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but the whole, you do not have my attention. You have the minimal amount.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of my attention is back at the office of Facebook and like all that stuff. Or the whole, I don't know if you know this, but I can buy the porcelain and turn it into my ping pong room right now if I wanted to.
Yeah, exactly.
All that shit is great. It's fantastic. All the interplay between Eisenberg and the Winklevoss twins is fantastic. Whenever like the Winklevoss twins are always like trying to get their word in during the trial, and they're always just like, "Can you guys shut up, please?"
Yeah, they don't.
What did
really
you hire me
it.
for? Yeah. What did you hire me for? I'm here to represent you guys. Like, why am I here if you guys are gonna like pipe up every 10 minutes or something? Mm-hmm. That shit's always funny. Just great character stuff from the Winklevoss twins. But yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic movie. I'm such a huge fan of it. So after this, it comes out, I believe, October. And then we have a run for the Academy Awards and Golden Globes. The Social Network is nominated for 8 Oscars, including directing, Best Actor, Best Picture, wins 3 for adapted screenplay, editing, and score. Mm-hmm. And now this is the thing right here. I don't know how it doesn't win picture, director, and actor. Like, it blows my mind still to this day.
Yeah.
Because you look back, so this is the King's Speech year. It's just like a fine movie. It's like, okay. It's whatever. The best thing I can say about it is, like, I'm glad Colin Firth has an Oscar because I love Colin Firth. But other than that, like, I don't think Tom Hooper's like the best director actor. As a matter of fact, I think it's a mistake we gave him a best director Oscar, as evidenced by the last 10 years. Like, he just directed Cats like a year ago, which,
yikes.
I'm not bagging on it. It's a fun experience. I'll tell you what. You got to watch that movie just to like see what the hell happened.
I might.
They spent $100 million on that movie, man.
Wild.
The cast, Taylor Swift, Idris Elba, all these. Like, you got Ian McKellen and Judi Dench in that movie. Like, it's crazy. It's insane. But you have Tom Hooper winning director, which I think is a mistake. King's Speech winning Best Picture, which we didn't talk about 2010 as an Oscar year, but, like, Inception, Toy Story 3, True Grit.
Wow.
Social Network.
Yeah, there's no way the King's Speech should have won.
Yeah.
There's no way. Like, every movie you just named is way better.
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
And those are the movies I just, like, I'm sure there's other stuff too, like, let me check, but, like, I don't know how out of that list the one you pick is the King's Speech.
Yeah, I think they might have missed it that year. I don't know. The Oscars hasn't always been the most reliable source for picking the best movie.
The Oscars, for the most part, is bullshit, but it's just fun to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just, like, it's a fun thing to bring up, just, like, how'd you get it so wrong? Because they always get it so wrong. They'll have maybe 1 or 2 times every decade where they actually get it right. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think Parasite, we were all hyped to see that movie win picture, director, screenplay. Mm-hmm. See Bong Joon-ho walk away with 4 Oscars in one night. And obviously, we have the Moonlight win from 2016. That was really fun to see happen. But they just got it so wrong. Because, you also look at... So Colin Firth wins over Eisenberg. And once again, I just said, I love Colin Firth. Fine actor. Like him a lot. You can't give him this award over Eisenberg in this movie. Honestly, I don't know how you do that. Because his performance is so good. And then like snubbing Fincher for Best Director. Like
it's tough.
it's a tough look for the Oscars. Because I mean, like I said, I think this is an absolute perfect movie. I think it's incredible. I think it's one of the best of the decade. And it's just more examples of like how the Oscars get it wrong almost all the time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know you know how the Oscars work, though. It's literally like a group of like 23 people that like actually decide this. It's man, it's some sort of.
Isn't it like a bigger, like it's 400, like something like that?
Maybe I'm thinking of the Golden Globes, but
you might be thinking of the Globes.
One of them, you literally like it's like 23 people that decide who actually wins, and it's like. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily what's actually the best. It's just kind of, it almost becomes political at that point of like
who throws the best parties.
Yeah, all the Hollywood shit that we don't even know about. So
which movie lets you meet the most celebrities and like have lunch with them and all that shit.
You got it. All that shit that goes on behind the scenes.
It's what fucked over Bradley Cooper when Star is Born was coming out, which wasn't my favorite movie that year, but I was like 110% sure that movie was going to win Best Picture, Best Director, everything. Because it was such a phenomenon. It was such a critical darling.
Lady Gaga was acting in it.
Yeah, like I was so sure that movie was going to take everything. Mm-hmm. But Bradley Cooper just didn't want to play the game, and then it got absolutely roasted by Green Book, which is still a travesty. But good Lord, I still can't believe it. I mean, we had the course correction the year after when Parasite won, so like we're fine now. But like Jesus, bad times. But yeah. So that's, I mean, we've already talked about the legacy I feel like this movie has. I've talked about how I think about it a decade later. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we kind of wrap up and everything?
No, I think we've thoroughly gotten through it. I think we've discussed it pretty well.
All right, fair. Well, if that's it, then make sure you watch our Mank review coming up this weekend. It's going to be a fun time. I'm very excited. It's going to be the second new release we've done since Borat, which was super fun for us. So I'm excited to see what Mank brings and all that good stuff.
Definitely excited for Mank.
Get Citizen Kane fired up. I'm going to watch it again Thursday night, getting ready for Mank. So that's going to be fun.
I got to find a way to watch it. I got to find a way to get access to it.
For sure. I mean, one of the best. I mean, it's one of those things where not as many people have seen as many older movies as they should. So like if you're excited for Mank and you love Fincher and you're getting ready to watch that movie, like watch Citizen Kane before, please. It's such a great movie.
It's incredible. So ahead of its time.
One of the best. I know it's one of those like boring things to say, like Citizen Kane is one of the best movies ever, but it really is. Like it lays the groundwork for like everything that's going to happen over the next 100 years.
It is so far ahead of its time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what Fincher saw in the story of Herman Mankiewicz writing it to really. Like what he's going to choose to really embellish and focus on in the movie. So that's going to be fun.
You're getting me excited.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you aren't. I mean, this is David Fincher. We haven't had a David Fincher movie in 6 years.
I'm excited.
Like I'm pumped because the last one worked for me like gangbusters with Gone Girl. Like I am ready for a new Fincher movie. Mm-hmm. So yeah, get ready for Mank. We're going to finish Fincher week on a high with Mank. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. What do you think of The Social Network 10 years on? Do you still think it's that kind of perfect movie that defines a generation that I do? Are you still maybe a little skeptical? Do you think it's still like a little easy on Mark Zuckerberg, especially these days? Love to hear what you have to say down there. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter. We'll have all those links down in the description. And thank you guys so much for watching.
All right, y'all.